Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another podcast with me, General Ginela. Uh, if you're listening on audio, I hope Tiny puts this on visual. That was him talking in. So as from now on, every now and again, we're gonna have Tiny in on the conversations. So if you hear his voice, even if you don't see him, that's Tiny. That's the voice of Tiny Films. You've seen him here on one of our episodes. Moving on to much more important matters. Our next guest sitting across me, goes by the name of Kevin. Well, it doesn't go. That's his real name, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Hi, glad to be here, man. Glad
Wow.
to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. I see your work, by the way. Okay, let's get this off the bat. Kevin is a graffiti artist. If you live in Durban, you might come across some of his artwork spread out all across the city. All those beautiful graffitis that you see on if you driving through the streets of Durban. It's some of the work it belongs to Kevin and his colleagues. So we brought him here to talk more about that and everything that makes up Kevin.
All right.
Who's Kevin, bro? Where you from? Where did you grow up?
So, Kevin, who is Kevin? Basically, I'm a young boy from Mlazi. I spent a lot of my younger years there. Also in Ladysmith as well. That's one of my earliest memories. Were just being there. My gran, her family is sort of from there.
Yeah.
And
Which part of Ladysmith?
Kleinfontein.
Okay.
Yeah, so just going to the farm there and just being on, like the countryside is like very relaxed. And my farm was just peaceful, a lot of hard work. And it's just humble beginnings, really.
How often did you go there?
We went there like, it was about once or twice a year. It wasn't too hectic. We didn't go there too religiously, but we were just there to sort of, well, I don't really know what the elders were doing there.
Yeah.
I guess it was just to reconnect with the essence of where they come from and where they call home, because everyone moves to the city to work and so we used to just go there to also reconnect with who we are, to be told the stories of where we come from as a family and things like that.
And then growing up in Mlazi, life compared to Makaya, and now you're back in a township.
Yeah, the township is it's nice. I really like the life there. It's very connected. It's very, you always constantly engaging with people, whether it's just a simple activity of going to buy bread at the store. There's so many people that know you and that you can connect with, and that you constantly have to make sure that those people are right. Those are that's like your immediate reflection of how life is going on around you and the quality of life that people are living around you. So the township for me was a very good start. It was a good place to start because I feel like there's so many lessons that we learn from growing up in that way that we can carry on and, into the next lifetime if we believe in those things. But there's a lot of great lessons.
Yeah. So your schooling years, which schools did you go to?
So I went to Assumption Pre-Primary, which is here in Mbilo. That's back then they had yellow, blue, and red group. It wasn't like called grade R or grade 0 or something like that. So I went there for about 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't even really remember, but it was like 2 years or so. And then went to Glenmore Primary. That's where I started grade 1 till about grade 6. And then I went to a school in Hillcrest just for grade 7 personally. And that came about because my father's has been in education for about 42 years now. And he was doing a lot of work with international exchange. They weren't students, they were also teachers themselves. And they're doing a lot of exchange programs here. Some of them actually ended up moving here to South Africa. So he was doing a lot in Europe, working in Denmark, in England. Where else? Yeah, it was mainly Denmark and England that he did a lot of his work. So that came with benefits. And one of those benefits was that he came across a program where these English schools, I think they're called Victorian schools.
Yeah.
So they gave out bursaries for young black kids to come and learn and to take part in their schools. And yeah, so it was like just a good opportunity. The school by the way is it's called Highbury.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's in Hillcrest, yeah.
Okay, so that's where you did your grade 7.
That's where I did my grade 7, yeah. Just for that year, I went there. And that was actually one of my best schooling moments ever.
Yeah.
I can say, yeah, there was a lot of benefits that came with that school. I guess because it is a wealthy school, so they have access to resources, finances, different things that can really elevate you, you know. So I could say the benefits were going on these school trips. So the one that I really remember was going to Zululand and Dundee, and then we got to climb the Isandlwana mountain.
Yeah.
And some of the mountains around there, it was really hectic, but it was really an amazing experience. And to be on top of, like, to be in the highest points in Zululand was like, it was just magical, you know.
And it's a tradition. It's not only a traditional landmark, but it's a national landmark. Because that's where the Battle of Isandlwana happened between the English army and the Zulu army. Yeah. So
and also just being on the top there, you can see what the earlier kings saw.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was Ushaga and
Eshwai.
Yeah, so you can see, just by overlooking all that land, you can sort of also now begin to vision and see what they saw.
Yeah.
In terms of the plan that they had for the future and how they were going to really work this land and make something of it, you know. So it was really inspiring to go there and to be able to just be in the parts, be on land that has so much cultural value and historical value, you know. Yeah, it's very important. I feel every Zulu person should take a trip down there, and it's not really because of the battles, but just because of the great people that came before us that were there and that really worked that land and had the vision for what we're living today, you know. Yeah.
Wow. You seem like you well embedded within your history.
I actually did do history as a subject in school, in high school.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, besides that, the fact that, I mean, those subjects still are at the top of your conversation till this point, and I'm sure you took something from that point, so you've gone further in terms of understanding it better, not just from the point that you were there and you saw what you saw and you felt what you felt, but like from that point on, I'm sure you've taken further steps to understand more how it was back then.
Yeah, and I mean, during those trips, the tour guides were really well informed. They were very knowledgeable as well, and they didn't miss the details, the finer details. They really wanted you to understand the conversations that some of these leaders had and how they dealt with colonization as well, and just different things that still affect us to this present day. So I felt those conversations were really important because we are only told things on the surface. We are only told, okay, these guys fought with these guys, and then these guys won the war, and then that brought about this change and this change. But you don't actually know the in-depth conversations of how did they even let these people in the first place? You know, who really was the guy to intercept them and to receive them and to understand what they were looking for, and who really bargained, what were the conversations like, and it was really good to be in that atmosphere and in that place, because these tour guides really gave you that. They kind of made you feel like you were in the room while these things were happening. Yeah. So that was cool.
Can I tell you my own experience with history, more particularly, I'll say Zulu history.
Okay.
Because that's where I fall under if we're talking about history. My biggest issue, okay, I get the stories, the information, what happened, they're available, you know. But most of the stories that have been told, that have been put out about what happened back then, what type of people were those people that existed here. Majority of the stories that are told about that, they are from a point of view of a person who is not Umzulu.
100%, I can agree with that.
Which then brings me to my next point, is that why do we, as the black community, still allow people, not allow, but, you know, don't see the need to capture and document and tell our stories? Why is that not of importance when the people that lived before us, information was everything. Passing down information was way more important than passing down cattle. Because information is what makes you prosper in life.
And the access, to that information,
And now we're sitting with history. We could say it's credible. But do you understand when these guys were, not now, not anymore. This is not now. It's not happening now. This is then. These guys were our enemies, so to say. Or we were their enemies in their eyes. Now, why would your enemy tell your story and paint you as a hero, or paint you in a light that your future generations should look up to you and be like, yo, I want to look like Grandpa Kevin. I want to do the things that Grandpa Kevin did. You look at the narrative of the black man in this country, it's negative, bro.
It's very old. Even in the world in general, it's
negative.
Yeah.
It's so negative that we don't want, we in this part of the world, they say we're in Africa. I don't feel like I'm in Africa. I feel like I'm in another, fine, geographically we're still here, but like in the essence, what drives us, our culture, the way we think, our mentality, our ideas, our originality, who we are, who are we? We don't know who we are. We're just doing hearsay. And right now, we're living in a time where information is very valuable. And the most important information is the information that says who you are. And if you don't capture your stories, you don't document your stories, that's information lost. You won't be able to pass it on to the future generations. And then when they get here, they're even in a trickier situation than you are. And you guys are the custodians of us, or you part of the group of the custodians of us passing down information. But how many people pay attention to graffiti? How many people drive past sprayed, painted walls and actually think, yo, the person that made this, why did they make this? Why did they put so much paint on this wall? Was this wall not good enough? Or is this wall good enough for him to put his message that he's trying to share with the world on this wall.
And you know, sorry to disturb you there, but I think that's where the actual essence of graffiti is. It's to rewrite your own story and rewrite your own history, because I'm not someone who really subscribes to the fact that our history starts from slavery. I don't buy that at all, because how can someone just pitch up and they're a slave? It doesn't work like
never.
that. It can't.
No.
It's impossible.
It starts somewhere.
Even with white people, they are always told that they were colonizers, but they also had their own history before then, of which they also need to start talking about, because when they paint themselves in a brush, it's always about the colonizing and also the negatives.
Yes.
So I feel like there's a story that we all could learn about, just rewriting your own history, rewriting your own story, and you being able to talk about things the way that you want to talk about things, because we're not always going to be in be on a platform where we can speak our stories and share our stories. You're not going to be in the perfect place to tell the perfect message. So the best place to start is wherever you are with whatever you have. And, you know, graffiti I felt was the best way to write yourself into history. So when someone looks 10 years ago and says, hey, what have black people been doing for the past 10 years? You can now begin to say, hey, there's this guy who did this. This guy told his story by doing this, you know. And there's many forms and many ways, but graffiti is the one way. It's like cave painting.
Yes.
That's just the fact of it. It's like cave painting. A guy found a cave. He felt that, hey, if anybody's going to come to this cave after me, they need to understand something. They need to see something. They need to understand what the land was before or when I was here. Yeah. So graffiti is, I feel, one of the most natural ways that people have been documenting themselves since the beginning of time. They had to write on something, whether it was a stone tablet, whether they had to carve in wood, whether they had to
build pyramid.
You know what I mean? They had to build something. They just had to leave something behind for the next person to be like, okay, here there were cattle here. Yeah. So anyone coming to hunt in that place could now see that, okay, there's cattle here.
Yeah. That's information. That's valuable information.
It's valuable information. You know, so that's why I chose graffiti. Beside the fact that it kind of chose me in a way, it found me. I didn't find it, because I was just a regular guy catching the bus every day going to school, in high school. I just catching the bus, you know, and people had written on the bus, you know, people write those crazy messages like, phone this person for this, or
or Kevin was here,
or this person was here, or they write whatever they write, you know. So
and no, just to sorry to steal that away from you, just to emphasize on that point, writing wherever you are. I mean, that shows you that mentality is in our mind, because no one tells you, yo, write here and say you were here, or tells the next person that, okay, you also should write. It's a conscious decision that one makes on their own. Even maybe you're the second person, so you see Kevin was here, so you're like, oh, fuck Kevin. Musa was here.
Yeah, Musa was also here.
Yeah. So we both were here. So Tiny will know when he gets here, yo, my niggas were here. Imagine that. Like, that's like life coming full circle. You know that probably maybe if we take it back into times where we sharing important information, other than just me saying I was here, like you said, telling people that, yo, there was cattle here, we had this, you know, that message passes on effortlessly. You don't need Wi-Fi for that, you know. The rains can come down, take down that wall, a piece of it. We still Like you go to a museum, you find a piece of rock, like it's just got one scribble, and that's art. People appreciate it because probably maybe that one figure that's there says a whole essay.
It tells you a story of a whole time and a whole period and how people used to move and how they worked and what thoughts they were thinking. And you know, I always reference it to, there's cave paintings in the Drakensberg. But now you can't take that mountain with you.
Yeah.
So you have to physically take yourself to that mountain, and that becomes now your own personal journey.
Yeah.
And it's important that when you take this journey, you are learning things. So it's always good to leave a piece of yourself as well and a piece of your own story there. And I know it may seem like you're defacing. If I go and I tag on a rock now, I'm going to get criticized for that. People say, you're ruining nature, you're doing this. But no, if you look through time, the Khoisan paintings are in...
And on the rocks.
They're in galleries. People now took it upon themselves to excavate this whole...
Yes.
Why do you have to move the mountain?
The tablets from the pyramids, bro, they're in London.
Why?
Why is that even?
Why? Why do people have to now pay to go see the tablet in England, a country which, first of all, we can't even get into half the time?
Yeah.
And
strict visa condition.
Why do we have to go and see our history
in another country?
In another country. That does not make sense.
On another continent.
It does not make sense at all. So that's why for me it's important. I feel like everybody should do graffiti. If it was up to me, if I was God, I would make sure that everybody does graffiti, because it's just that way of, you can't have someone else telling your story. Going back to that first point, you can't have someone else telling your story because
no one tells it better than you.
Yeah, and there's always going to be that bias, you know. Someone's going to see it from their perspective, whether it was a good thing or whether it was a bad thing. For you, it was just a thing. It didn't have a bad or good side. It was just this thing that you did. So, you know, it's important for you to just put that out there. And I really appreciate the times we live in now, because you can just make something and then just put it out there.
Yes.
And it's going to live forever as long as technology is around, and as long as there's electricity. You can access that. And I think that is something that's super crucial, and the evolution of that is super crucial, because I can now go and research a story of Jay-Z or the story of whatever artist or whoever I like. I can now see what it took for them to make it happen, you know what I mean, and what struggles they went through. I can hear and access now just all of that, whereby back in the days you couldn't. You had to go to the show. You had to...
You had to buy the album or something.
Yeah, you know, and that has its own value.
Yeah.
And I just even remember just people crowding around a vinyl, because this is the only person that had a vinyl player. And
imagine that.
That was the only way you could get to this album, was you through this little documented, you know, and that's where the real value, you know, like the actual plate itself doesn't have any value to it, because if it burns or
it breaks,
it's just the journey that it took for this person to actually document this and to actually write their story into history. And that's just what graffiti really is in its essence. It's just you writing yourself into history.
Easy. And speaking about graffiti and being able to share your stories, I saw that actually through graffiti because of graffiti and through technology, I think you're also getting international work or outside of the country work.
Yeah. This year was actually the first time I'd been out of the continent, just per se.
Yeah.
And it was, that experience really changed the way I see and approach everything now. It's almost like I can't continue doing things the same, and I can't continue approaching situations in life the same because of this experience. You know, just to get myself out of Africa. It was a struggle and a journey on its own, but having gone out and come back, I don't know, it's just remarkable that, you know, you can even just jump on a plane and go somewhere and then, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, through technology and graffiti, I've been able to get international work, and that's through the internet, you know. That's really...
So do they see your work on your social media, or do you have like a website?
No, I don't have a website at the moment. I'm still working on that. But actually, there was a friend of mine who had moved from here, South Africa, and now lives in Malaysia. And he was like, he had sent me a message over Instagram and told me that there's this graffiti jam that's happening in the country or in a city. And he's like, yeah, they're looking for people, and I'm just going to put your name down because I heard you're going to be coming around here around that time. And everything just aligned perfectly. And I went there, met so many cool people who now they're going to be friends for the rest of our lives, you know?
Yeah.
So that's through the internet, that's through technology. I can't say, beside the strength of me working and putting in the effort, but the internet has almost accelerated everything, you know. Now you're able to chat to 10 people in 10 different parts of the world within a split second of
click of a button.
Within a click of a button, it's like it's just made life that much more accessible and approachable now.
And so now that you're taking your work internationally, do you have a specific signature that you want to present when you putting your work out there, or a specific message that you as Kevin want to send out there?
Yo, you know, just a little backstory before I answer that question.
Yeah, we love backstories.
The backstory is that when I I traveled to Thailand, and then I spent a month in Thailand. I spent 2 weeks in Malaysia. I spent 2 weeks in Indonesia, and then I spent about 2 days in Singapore. And this trip to Southeast Asia has sort of taught me that, going back to that other point, is that when I was in Asia, the people selling African identity were not African people.
Oh my God.
You know that we are probably the only race that are not capitalizing on their own identity. We rely on external forces and sources to sell our culture, and therefore we don't benefit. And that really hurt my morale, you know, when I got there and I see an Asian lady trying to sell me like ipe shoe or like a shirt. Like, I was like, no, man.
You're lying, bro.
It was really like, no, I can't do this.
Oh, man.
It was just too hectic, you know, and that led me to the point of like, I now have a responsibility. The fact that I've made it out of Africa, I have a responsibility now to broaden the African voice and the culture as well. Is like to now it's my responsibility. It's almost like I've taken it upon myself to be like, I'm responsible now for all the people that could not, all the African people that cannot make it to this level or to this place. I now am representing them. And I need to now come correct with it, because imagine I go there and I start selling American culture. That's confusing, because even when I was walking in the street there, a lot of people, when they would ask me like, hey, you know, where are you from? They would automatically assume I'm from America. Just maybe by the way I look, or the height, or whatever the case, or the way I speak. But when I told them that I was from Africa, they were literally like
blown away.
They were blown away, and they just wanted to sit down there and there, stop their day, and have a conversation and know what's really going on in Africa, because they fed a completely different stereotype that we don't even know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's important for us to tell our stories and for us to sell our own culture and for us to directly benefit from that. So, yeah, when I was there, it was a great experience. I mean, it was a very spiritual experience. It was a very life-changing experience. And also just to see how other cultures are organizing themselves, how they're getting together to solve their problems. And that's something that I felt we're lacking a little bit here. You know, we're not going all the way for each other. We're not seeing our own problems. We want European solutions to African problems. How can we solve our problems with external...
With their resources?
It's not going to work. We aren't necessarily meant to be living the life that they want us to live.
You know, you're absolutely right on that, bro. And you know, it's safe to say someone might be like, yo, we all talking about this African movement and all these kind of things. Now that they think that we're telling people, okay, let's go back to Koama Beshu and walking around half naked and all those kind of things. But if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm all for it. All we're saying is that we need to recapture our originality, who we are, and embrace it and incorporate it into today's life. We cannot run away that we live in the times that we live in. We no longer live in hearts and all those kind of things. Some people may still do in this country. They might still live in that form of life, be it by reason, by choice, or by certain reasons. Obviously. But the most important thing is us creating a life that's durable for us and it's beneficial for us. Obviously beneficial in the sense that we benefit from the things that represent us directly, and stop seeking to belong to something else. Like if you live this country, once you're over there, don't think that you're better than the rest of us that are left here. Because when you out there, when they busy showing you love for whatever reason, or they got all hyped up about you being from Africa, it's not the fact that you got a fancy accent that almost sounds American. It's just merely for the fact that you come from Africa. And people don't know much about us.
They don't. They don't actually know anything. Because they fed, you know, it's just, you know, I also like to go back to the idea of like even our language. What advancements are we making to evolve the language? Are we still writing in the dictionary? Are we still publishing books? Are we still adding new words?
Expanding the language.
Yeah, you know, because that's the only way we'll be able to take back our identity.
And naming things. Like, you know, there's new inventions. We need to give them name. We can't just directly take the word
and then just put a U or E.
Just throw in a vowel at the end or in the beginning, somewhere in the middle.
So with that, just to go back to answer that question, now my signature is directly related to being black and what it's like to be black. And I'm also just trying to show people a more positive view of black people, that we were once kings. We are still kings. We've just forgotten that. And now we're sort of fighting amongst ourselves for whatever's left, you know, but we used to actually own it all. If we are the center of civilization, that's powerful. If life started here, that means that the Creator had this plan and we were in the middle of this plan.
Yeah.
And if we just look at how the world is going right now, it always goes. It's always playing on how black people were treated or how we currently still getting treated in the world. And that's a huge problem. And I feel like that is still at the center of the plan. It's just that we're not acknowledging it as that. We're not seeing ourselves as the cradle of mankind. We're not seeing, if we embrace ourselves, maybe that will help other cultures embrace themselves. Because being black is one of, I feel, just even being any sort of darker tone, I feel, it comes with its own
perks.
Yeah, it comes with its own perks. And even when I look at artists today, why do white artists paint black people? Why don't they paint white people? I mean, I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah.
But if you look at the vast majority of white artists, they're painting black people.
Can you mention a few?
I don't want to hit and miss or give anyone, throw anyone under the bus, but just
it's not a bad thing.
It's
not a bad thing. It's merely just an observation.
Yeah, it is just an observation.
Obviously, the artists themselves can have a reason why they do that, which would still be valid. But from this point that we're merely just making an observation that obviously there must be something interesting. Because you as an artist, I'm sure you believe that you wouldn't paint something that you don't have an interest in.
I mean, I have. Sadly, I have. But yes, I try now to move away from that, and just because even when it comes to graffiti, who are the biggest Zulu graffiti writers? Like, who's the biggest Zulu graffiti writer to do it? Or the biggest Nguni, I'll say Nguni because we are whole made up of different cultures, and different. But it's always when someone's winning a prize, it's always someone like it's always a white guy or that wins, and what is their subject usually? African people or them, And I understand being African isn't limited to being black. Because they are white people, they are Indian people. They are even Asians that are.
I mean, that's how.
Born here, so.
Listen, that's how welcoming black people can be. Like, you can identify as one of us. No one's gonna throw a fit and be like, "Yo, you're not part of this." I mean, I'll show you. I'll give you an example. An Indian that can speak fluent Zulu. Is a Zulu or is a Soto or Venda. Black people endear those white people or Indian people more than they would someone who doesn't speak their language. But you could speak fluent English.
And they don't even really
and
care.
Be the baddest person, like the greatest English speaker, vocally, whatever. But still, you're not good enough to get inside the club.
Yeah, they're not going to give you a little prize or a little trophy.
They never.
But we give trophies for that. If someone learns our language, we're like, oh, wow, hey, this person like this. But essentially, we've been so accommodating that we've forgotten ourselves. We're always trying to accommodate the world, but we're at a time now where we need to just turn away from that completely, I feel.
Yeah.
And just be like, now it's time for the world to embrace us because we've endured this pain for far too long, So now it's time for other cultures to, embrace us and
embrace their own culture as well. We're not saying embrace black. We can just, the only thing we can say is just appreciate us for us being ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like the world has a problem with Africans being Africans.
I think it's a threat. I think some people see it as a threat. I don't. I feel it's a threat. It can make people feel like they're losing power to the powers that be.
Yeah.
And also because there are so many of us. I mean, a lot of people see Asia as a threat.
Yeah.
And they try and marginalize them because there are so many of them, they could literally take over the world if they wanted to.
Yeah, they can bring an army to almost every continent.
Yeah, there's so many of them, and if we look at how organized they are, that's also threatening. They're some of the fastest growing cultures in the world. Asia is they're so productive.
And yet you don't see them going around trying to convince people to identify as Asian.
And when I landed in Bangkok, there was nothing written in English there. When I try to speak to someone, the fact that you speak English, they just smile at you, and because they're friendly people, they just sort of smile, and then they pull who's closest next to them to say okay, well, you know a little bit more English than I do, so why don't you come and try and handle this situation, And I feel like to an extent, we also need to go back to that. It's like the people were so welcoming and everything like that, and everything was written in their language. You can see that when a kid grows up,
they know who they are.
Exactly. They're not confused, because when they read a milk carton, it's in their language. When they see the guy on the street, they're commuting and they're conversating in their language. When you have to buy something, you have to learn their language. So everything is pointing towards understanding them. They're not really accommodating you, beside the fact that they're opening their borders and saying, come and see us. But you are coming to us. You're going to eat our food.
We're not going to meet you halfway.
They don't really meet you halfway.
Yeah. You're here to enjoy the Malaysian experience. You're not coming here to come and enjoy South African, American, Zimbabwean, wherever you come from.
And you know what I really loved about that was that, so in Thailand, I went to, because I didn't know really what to eat, I went to a restaurant thinking, the restaurant, it's safe. This is going to be the safe experience, and that's completely shattered my perception, because that was the complete opposite. Because I thought, okay, eating in this clean place, I actually got sick from that. And then the moment I ate in a street food place where they have their traditional cooking, and I actually felt 200% better.
Yeah.
And I started enjoying that food more than going into a restaurant. And that just, beside them having a huge cooking culture, of which we also do.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah, everyone has a tradition around food, I guess. Yeah.
And it's funny that we here, we want to do away with it as much as possible. I'll tell you one thing, and it's looked down upon. In Northwest, they eat sonja.
Sonja, remind me.
It's those mopane worms, I think, if I'm right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean that's a delicacy that they have. They someone else might be like, I'm not eating that. Like even in traditional Nguni, we cook tripe.
Yeah.
Someone else is like, no, I'm not eating that. That's filthy. They'd rather have a 5-course meal, perfectly decorated plate and all. That's Western culture. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I mean, if we don't embrace our own things, then we can't expect people to come here and respect us.
Because we're not respecting and staying true to our...
Which brings me to my next point. We are here, and people will come from outside and see opportunities that we don't see. Why is that? It's because we are not true to ourselves. We are too busy trying to be somebody else.
And to appeal to the rest of the world.
That's why we've got foreign nationals from other part of the countries coming in here in our lively places, and they'll open up small businesses and they thrive out of that. Soon as we see them thriving, we complain. You want to shut them down? Okay, fine. You shut them down. Who's going to take care of that? Because after we shut those people down, no one is willing to work hard enough as those guys were doing, because you never took the time to understand that those guys actually created an opportunity out of nothing. There was sacrifice. And even so, this is our culture. This is what we do as black people. Okay, writing a bonus, okay, and there's a shortage of e-paza around. So somebody needs to bring things closer. I do that, and I start making a success out of it. Somebody's going to complain about it. Or somebody's going to try and directly compete with me so that they can put me out of business. Instead of saying, yo, I like what you're doing and you're succeeding. How did you do it? I'd like to work with you. And no one sees the need to do that. Like, we just want to compete. I'll make an example. The taxi industry. Why are they still like, why abantu bamnyama basadula abanye abantu bamnyama? Because of amatex or anything that's in relation to the taxi industry. That's our livelihood. Nowhere in the world can you run a business like the taxi business here. Nowhere in this day and age. That's African essence. That's who we are. And we don't appreciate it. Now we're moving into and they say it's the fourth industrial revolution.
Fourth industrial revolution.
Whatever they want to call it. I just say times are moving. That's the way of life. So you need to move with the times. Who's actually in the taxi business right now, looking forward to the future to say, hey, okay, the cars, the roads, they're looking to shape the roads this way. So the cars are going to be moving like this. And how do we plan for that as the taxi industry to make sure that technology works with us, for us, and actually takes us further? And not only that, we don't stop there. Off of the taxi industry, why aren't we starting college funds that fund black kids who probably who are driving these taxis? If every taxi owner every year put out like 1% of the money they make, that's enough to send 10 kids. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating.
No, they make a lot of money. And also their tax is different.
Exactly. You could put black kids through college. Those same black kids, you can come and employ them in that very same taxi industry for them to take it to the next level and make it progress and make it something that benefits the black community. Into e benefita abantu abamnyama. It's high time we stop pointing fingers and saying, yo, government's not doing this. Yo, so-and-so has too much. No, it's not about that. Oh, yo, I want to be the best. I want to be the boss of everyone. Life is not about that. No one gains out of that. Because the one thing that's going to happen, you die, and you're the only one that knows the business and understands the business.
You die with it,
You die with it. When you dead, your kids starve. Your family starves. What did you achieve? Didn't achieve anything. So the right way, we want to build our own resources. Resources have been taken away from us, but we have an opportunity to build our own resources, to create our own, to bring back our own culture or transform our culture, transform our communities. And art is one of those things as well amongst the taxi industry. Like you said, you've got white artists who capture black stories, and they're getting awards off of that. We're the black artists. I know you're not getting recognition, but if we don't have more black artists making making a loud noise, putting more work out there, expressing themselves, sharing information, passing on information. We need more of that.
And you know, it's actually funny. I don't know what show I was watching, but they were speaking about Grammys and awards and different things like that. And I think they were speaking about Java.
Yeah.
And I think he won a BET award.
Yeah.
So they were speaking about the Grammys and they sort of related to Java as well, and just about culture as well. And they were saying that the way that every kid aspires to win a Grammy for something, whatever they do, or I guess there's different awards, but they were just saying that the criteria that they use to pick the nominees and the winners is based off of identity and also cultural things. How, like, Java is a perfect guy to use because he's one person who's really representing South Africa, you know. He's really representing his culture, and he's now moving our culture into the modern time. So he's mixed trap with Zulu. He's not the only one that's did it.
Yeah.
I don't want to just now isolate him, but he's also done it in a certain way where my father can enjoy. My grandparents can also enjoy.
Yes.
And that is so important because now any kid that is aspiring to win a Grammy knows that you can't just start appealing in an American way because the Americans aren't going to value that. Whereas a guy like Java can win a Grammy because that is what's valuable to the panel of the Grammy, the people that pick these nominees. That's what's valuable to them. So that's a big life lesson for all of us to learn, is that you've got to stick with your guns. As hard as it may be, as hard as a fight may be, you've got to stick with your guns, you know. You have to stick with your culture. You have to represent your culture. You have to evolve that with whatever it is that you're doing. And that's where I also feel I am now. I feel the responsibility now to actually put my culture into graffiti. I'm writing my culture into graffiti now. Whereas nobody really has done that. And I was like, I'm not going to wait for someone to do that because I want to inspire so many new graffiti artists that are going to now take this even further than I've even been able to take this. And just going back to the business thing we're talking about with taxis and different things, is that, you know, it is a shame to see us fighting amongst each other instead of growing with each other, you know. And if we just look at how many Asian restaurants are here in Durban, how many curry places you can go to that are selling Eastern cuisine. Why can't I access my own cultural food as easily?
In the same areas.
If I go out, why do I only have to go back home to taste itombolo?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Why can't I just go up the road and have itombolo and whatever comes with it?
Yeah.
You know, I feel we are losing it there. That's where we actually just losing the grasp on reality, on the essence of what it is to be black, you know. I mean, if you see any other African from maybe North or East or West African, when they come here, they still cooking their own food.
Thank you.
When they're selling something, the clothes that they sell, they're selling their patterns. They're selling their fabrics.
All these African prints.
And then we look at them and we like, you can't do that here. But when he leaves, we don't put our own guy that's, you know what I mean? We don't put that guy in that position to say, okay, well, you need to start selling the leopard print or the... We're not doing that. We remove that guy and then we're like, okay, good, he's gone.
Can I tell you something? Are you aware of La Duma Maxhosa?
No, I don't know.
Okay, he's a designer. I'll call him an artist, bro. I don't like, if I say you're a designer, it's just like limits your artistry.
Yeah.
And I understand that, art, it can go any other way. One day you're painting, next day you're in music.
Yeah.
So he basically has a clothing brand. It's international now.
It's coming to me. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you go online to his store and you check out some of the clothes that he has, they are available on sale. And you show it to people and like, okay, so this guy makes this kind of clothes, so yeah, the prices. And people be like, yo, why is it so expensive? I'm like, why does that matter?
Is it not that valuable?
Why are you even saying that? Then it's like, yo, no, but like, does it have to be this expensive? Because now it's like, it's Gucci, or Louis Vuitton. I'm like, so you're telling me it's okay for Louis Vuitton to charge you ridiculous prices, but it's not okay for a guy from where you come from to charge the same price, making this almost the same quality clothes. And not only that, but these clothes is made them in such a way that they represent you.
So of course you want that.
So why don't you want
the
to
most
pay
expensive?
For that?
Yeah.
So why don't you want to pay the money that product it deserves?
And that's the only. Actually, I watched this interview by Dapper Dan. He I think made Gucci. He used to take Gucci clothes,
fake Gucci clothes, and sell them in the hood. And
he used to sort of retailer them and make them his own, and then used to sell it to the gangsters in his neighborhood.
The biggest drug dealers and pimps.
So in the conversation, he was saying that like, when it comes to your Ralph Lauren and your Gucci and your Versace, all of these brands, we are the biggest buyers.
Yes.
These brands don't actually directly represent us, but we are the biggest consumers of these brands. And that goes straight back to your point. It's that not everything is meant to be affordable. That's why you have low value things, medium value things, and high value things. They're all of value, but they all have their own categories. So for us the reason why we don't own any Ralph Lauren sort of thing is because if I sell you a jacket and I'm like, this jacket's 2,000 Rand, you'll be like, whoa. But the same guy will go to a club and buy a bottle of Moet for 2,000 Rand.
Absolutely true.
And that is messed up because now we're not seeing where value is actually created and how you actually make something of higher standard and higher status. Gucci doesn't care that people can't afford it.
Yeah.
They care about the people that are willing to try and afford it. That's where they're aiming.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't we aim exactly the same?
And I mean, if we got our own icons rocking brands from our own people and actually going as far as putting it in their art, now that's a story I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Now that's how I move. That's how I feel we can build our society. Because that's how we link up. That's the first step of us working together, appreciating one another and recognizing one another. Bro, I hate this part. Man, that was so short. I feel like we don't have enough time. Okay, I'll throw in one question. Not one question. I just want to bring up something which is closer to you.
All right.
Even if we don't have enough time to go into it, just I'd like for you to say something for. Okay, Tiny just said we can go ahead. Okay, spirituality, bro. What's your take on spirituality? Obviously, taking into consideration of what we spoke about, especially the African essence, which is very important also to you.
So for me, spirituality is very important because I believe everything is connected. And with that, it's been also really hard for me because I feel South Africa is a very spiritual place. We believe in ancestors. Even when we slaughter and we do our rituals and things, we are paying homage to the unseen. Even our name, Amazulu, that's people of the heavens, people of the sky. That directly means we are of God, you know. So it's just a little bit demoralizing, or it sucks that you get Jesus, you get Buddha, you get Krishna, you get all these Aztec gods, Allah, you know. People have their way that they are talking to God. I believe that there's only one God and everyone is just using a different vehicle to get there. What's our vehicle? I know we have Veli. Yes, but he doesn't have a face. Or no one's got a depiction of what he looks like. Or how we can... I mean, we do have the goats, the thing of the goat, but how are we directly... You know what I mean? Like
no one has emphasized our way to connect to Umvelingang.
Yeah,
like, you know, we have... Sorry, I'm just filling in. So
no,
you can take it after me. How do we... Okay, we have this figure. It's there. We know about it. But no one has taken time to explain the linkage between us, our ancestors, and Umvelingang. So it's just like, I feel like those facets just exist in just like different components.
Yeah.
And therefore, like, I think that's why maybe you feel like there's a gap, like in us understanding the position and the amount of power that we can channel by linking our spirituality to Umvelingang.
And also having our own prophet. Who was our prophet that... I mean, someone out there has these answers.
Yeah.
Someone knows the answers to these, but whether they're watching the show or not, I don't know. But I would like to know, and I'd like to learn more. And I've realized through my own journey that in my life, spirituality is something that I have to focus on more than, so to say, other things. Not to say that I should only do spiritual things, no, but when I'm spiritually in line and aligned, that's when I feel I can understand my life better. And I know where I'm going. I can see the path more clearly. And when I'm not, I'm very all over the place. I'm not like grounded. I can't see the signs of what life is actually trying to show me and lead me to, you know. So for me, spirituality is a very important thing. I feel all man should be spiritual. I feel like that's the essence we've lost in humanity in general and just in the world, is we focus too much on he's Christian, and then when it comes to just being Christian, you've got 10 different denominations.
Yeah.
then each denomination is fighting each one. But aren't we just gathered to worship God and to enjoy enjoy spiritual blessings and enjoy life in that way and celebrate life through praise and devotion? And when I was traveling, I realized like, these countries were very highly spiritual. In Thailand, it's something like 95% of everyone was Buddhist. And you can see it in the people, how calm they are. They're not, like, it's crazy to think, but in that month I was in Thailand, I never saw one person acting out in aggression. Nobody's, like, everyone was super patient with me. I never saw anyone, or maybe because of the language is different, so I don't know, but I never saw any aggression really, and I never saw people fighting. I never saw people arguing really. And that I can't say it's because of the spirituality and how devoted people are. Like every day they go and they do their offerings at the temples and they do their meditations, and you can see it in the people. Like they don't have the best quality of life, but the way that they're looking content, and people are able to still find meaning with the little they have, and that's so important. People do, obviously, we humans, we like to aspire to have more and to do different things, but to be in a place where everybody is like, the majority of everyone is just happy. I know that this person is poorer than me. I've spent money on an experience that they're probably never going to get. They're embracing me, and they're just so happy that I came all this way. And they want to now take it upon themselves to make the most of that and to also just show you more of them and the spiritual side of things. And that was really inspiring to see that, to see a country that is spiritually devoted. And I feel we have strayed a little bit from that. I mean, there's many countries that have also, but I'm not just hating on South Africa or anything like that.
Would you say for you, spirituality, is it first, and what's more important? Is it a we thing, or is it an I thing, then it's a we thing, or vice versa?
Because I don't have control, I don't know what you believe in, and I don't have control over that. If you say tomorrow you believe in whatever, I have no say over that. I think it's just important for everyone to find it within themselves. It's within everyone, And I think it's one of those things that's like an illusion. It's like, how do you put something everywhere and inside of you, but you just can't see it? That's like that's the way I see it, is like, what's the easiest way? I'm trying to put this in a way that I can understand, but it's like, what's the easiest way to get people to come back to the essence? And that's to put it inside of you, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
You can only feel it and you can only experience it.
I mean, that's spirituality.
That's spirituality.
In simple terms, it's not something that you can physically touch or you can physically point out. Hell, it's not something that you can even describe at a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
It's something that we gotta sit down about and talk about, because this whole conversation, for me, that's spirituality, because we're speaking about life, and not just talking about life, but we're talking about how we can advance life, or how is life advancing, or how has life been. I feel like we're too focused on other issues and obviously neglecting life itself, like the simple things. Focusing on making sure that we take care of this place that we live in. I'm not a scientist, but scientists are saying the weather is changing because of the way we treat the world, or the way we behave while we're here.
Yeah.
Obviously, with our actions, littering, and all those kind of things. Getting rid of this.
Plastic.
I feel bad just from drinking from this.
Yeah.
The fact that I have to go to the shop and because I understand that this is not good for the environment that I'm in.
It's not, yeah.
Obviously, that alone is not good enough. But the fact that if everyone can just realize and have it at the back of your mind, I mean, those are the kind of things that you have them, but you can't touch them. You can't point them out. Those are the kind of things we need to build and instill within ourselves. And so you can
sorry. And just to also add, if we just look at everyday life is teaching you to be fearful. The moment you get into your house, you're locking it, and everything in life is teaching you about scarcity, being fearful. It's, even just with substances, it's always putting you into turmoil with yourself.
Yeah.
We all know that, we all have that story of we drank too much and then ... you know? And it's not to say we cannot enjoy these things and not have our spirituality at the same time. It's just, there has to be that balance, it's about balance. And what are you doing to balance the fear that's always projected to you? The fear of not being enough in life. The fear of not having enough in life. The fear of not being loved in life. The fear of being, so many things. The fear of being robbed. The fear of... And, we have so many everyday fears in South Africa. Every man and woman in South Africa, when they step out of their house,
there's fear.
There's fear. You walk into the world fearfully. Like, you may be bold and you're willing to face this, and that's the courage and the bravery that we have. But essentially, what do we have to be brave about? The fact that you just don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel the spirituality can help balance that. If we're more spiritually aligned, we'll understand that if I hurt you, I hurt myself, because everything is connected. If I hurt the environment, we hurt ourselves, because we have to live on this planet. So it's just those sort of things, I feel.
Wow. Kevin, ladies and gentlemen, before we go, anything that you're going to be working on that you want people to look out for?
I'd say just keep a keen eye on the streets and look up from your cell phone. Don't forget to look up,
Yeah.
We're always looking down at our phones. Just get a breath of fresh air, go take a walk. Just try and enjoy real life a bit more. And I know we're surrounded by a lot of computers and stuff.
Yeah.
And we need this to convey our messages. But yeah, every now and again, just try and encourage people to unplug, just take yourself on a trip, go on a journey. Just realize that anything worth doing takes time. I've been doing this for 15 years. And I can say that I'm in a good place, but I'm not... I would have thought, this is just my ego though, I would have thought that I'd be way further by now.
Yeah.
I mean, when you tell someone you've been doing something for 15 years, they expect, like, whoa. I don't have 15 years. What can you give me that I can use right now?
But no, that's you. That's from a point of view. I mean, if you ask us, the 15 years, it shows. I mean, if you, like you just mentioned, you were in Malaysia, for someone to bring you over there to do the same work that you do here, it means that you have something within you, and that's not just talent for art, but also experience. Yeah.
All right, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So we appreciate you, even though, I appreciate you. I appreciate your work, which is why you're here. You're a very inspirational and motivational person. So I just wanted to bring you here to tell you, don't stop. Whatever it is that you do. And obviously now that I've engaged with you in conversation, you're a very interesting person and very insightful. And I feel like people can learn from you a hell of a lot. Which brings me next to my next point, is the fact that I'd like to ask you to come back in future.
Most definitely.
We do more episodes.
100%. I'd be honored. I mean, I really appreciate you guys for even being able to document this, because, you know, certain cultures are dying out, and these are the places where they'll live forever. It's on the podcast. It's on, you know, now someone knows what I think and how.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't see the art and then it's over. But yeah, thanks to you guys, man. I appreciate it.
By the way, if people want to see more work that you're involved in, I think you guys have a documentary that you guys shot last year.
Yes, it's called Footnotes in the City. It was shot by Samora Chapman and Mook Lion.
It's available on YouTube.
Yeah, it's available on YouTube, yeah.
And people can find it on your bio on Instagram.
Yes, on my bio on Instagram at Kev7, yes.
Okay, at Kev7. You can find me at General_Ngwenya. You can find the podcast. Hey, shout out. By the way, we have a new Instagram handle. It goes at G_podcast ZA. You can follow my homie Tiny behind the camera at tinyfilms_. Where's my credit? I got it right. Where's my credit? Thank you, Tiny. It's been real. Catch us next time. Deuces.